The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. This is Jesse Heller. I'm the Marketing Director at Fay Business Systems Group, and I'm happy to present alongside with David Fay, the CEO of Fay BSG, and Christine Davis, Senior Inside Sales Rep at Sugar, our QuickBooks integration for Sugar today in our webinar. And today, David's going to be walking us through the demo, and Christine's here to answer any questions from the Sugar side that might pop up. And if you feel like you do have any questions for either David or Christine, you can go ahead and put those in the chat box at any time, and we'll try to get those addressed as we progress. So with that, David, I'm going to make you the presenter, and
I think you're going to be the presenter of the
oh, you're right. Okay, good point. And I will move us along. So with that, David, pass it to you.
Great. So hey, thanks everybody for being here today. Really excited to be presenting our QuickBooks integration for Sugar to you folks. We're going to start off with just a quick overview about us. We'll do a slide or two about Sugar, and then we'll get right into the integration and a demo. And if there's time at the end, we'll definitely do some Q&A. And obviously, if you have any questions as we go, you can type them into the chat box, and Jesse will address that. So Fay Business Systems Group has been doing CRM and ERP software and custom solutions for more than 25 years. We've got hundreds and hundreds of clients that we've done ERP software, CRM software implementations and integrations and custom development for over the years. We're a Sugar Elite partner, and there aren't too many of us in the world, so we're really proud of that status. Our team is all in-house in our offices in the U.S. We have offices in California and New York, and we're known in the Sugar community, other than for doing a lot of implementations and training and customizations, for our packaged integrations with various products. And those integrations include a variety of things. I think we currently have 9 different integrations. There's a heavy weight towards ERP software because of our expertise in the ERP space. We've done a lot of integrating of Sugar with ERP software. So in addition to QuickBooks, we're going to look at today, we've also integrated Sugar with NetSuite, Sage, and Intact. And in addition to those, we've got integrations with Box for document storage, Constant Contact for marketing, emails, Authorize.net for credit card processing, Jira for project and issue management, and so on. Sugar is also well integrated with Act-On, a marketing automation platform, and we're excited to be working with that as well. So as I said, a big part of our business is the development of these integrations and then implementing them for clients worldwide. So that's the quick, down and dirty summary of Fay Business Systems Group. With regard to Sugar, many of you may know about Sugar, some of you may not, but a quick overview of Sugar is the fastest growing CRM software vendor in the world, and they are the largest pure play provider of CRM software. That means of all the big guys in the CRM software space, Sugar is the only one where CRM software is all they do. And we feel that that's a really important thing to note, because every day, all Sugar is working on is their CRM product and adding new features and functionality and making it better every day, whereas some of the other companies in the CRM space, have their focus divided up among a lot of things. Sugar's been around for about 10 years with more than 400 employees, and winning lots of awards these days. A leader position on the Forrester Index and Gartner's Magic Quadrant. Sugar's a visionary, which is a really rare thing, and we're one of only a few CRM software companies that has been branded a visionary. Obviously, as I said, a lot of awards, and Sugar's in a great place in the space, and we're excited to be a part of the Sugar community. And just as a quick note before I get into the QuickBooks integration benefits, one of the reasons, there's a few reasons why we like Sugar among all other CRM software products. And years ago, we worked with all of the leading CRM software products. I won't name them all, but pretty much we worked with all of them. And 5 or 6 years ago, we were looking at the landscape of the CRM software, and we ended up dropping all the other CRM software products and focusing exclusively on Sugar. And we really did that for 3 reasons. One is we love the flexibility you get with Sugar in terms of hosting. You can host it with Sugar, you can host it at another hosting platform like Amazon or Rackspace, or you can host it on your own internal server, and we really found that that was a great thing. Secondly, the customizability of Sugar with the internal tools that you could use to customize it, not be a programmer, but just add new fields and move things around on the screen was really cool. And in addition, the fact that it's open source means at the end of the day, no matter what you want to make Sugar do, no matter what you want Sugar to integrate with, you can do it. You're never going to be backed into a corner and say you can't do that. And then thirdly, the third big thing that we've always liked about Sugar is the price point. We find that $40 per user per month is a phenomenal price point. It's affordable for small companies, affordable for big companies, and it's really a reasonable price for their professional edition, which will give you nearly all the features that most businesses need. So just wanted to touch on those 3 key things that we really love about Sugar. So about our integration. So the idea behind our integration is that you can have users that previously had to go into QuickBooks to find out information about their customers, but now they don't. They can go into Sugar and see the critical information that they need. And so, as you'll see when we jump into the demo, Sugar and QuickBooks customer information syncs back and forth, names, address, city, state, zip, all that kind of important stuff. In addition, invoice history, sales receipt history, and invoice details will appear in Sugar. So if you're a sales rep going out on call and you're going to see, you want to know about your customer, you want to see what invoices have happened, you want to see what products have been selling, you can pull up Sugar and you can see that information without having to go into QuickBooks. In addition, if you were interested in the inventory in QuickBooks, quantities on hand, things like that, again, that's all in Sugar as well. And then lastly, the other key thing that's integrated is you can enter sales orders and invoices and estimates all in Sugar and have them sync over into QuickBooks so that there's not double entry going on. And the idea is that these synchronizations and things that happen, they happen on a scheduler within Sugar. And some of our clients, run the schedule every 5 or 10 minutes. Others run it every hour. Others run it once in the evening. It's really up to you, and the scheduling is flexible. So you can choose how to do it, and we really, we think that's a really important part of the integration. From a compatibility standpoint, we're compatible with pretty much everything right now. QuickBooks Pro, Premier, Enterprise, and Online. We go back to Sugar 6.0. Our integration has been around for years, so we go back to older versions of Sugar as well as the latest version 7.5. We work with all the Sugar versions, Sugar Professional, Enterprise, Ultimate, and it will work in the Sugar on-demand environment as well as if you have Sugar on an in-house server. So we've tried to make it as flexible as possible, and we've tried to make it so it will work with as many different flavors of things that you guys can come up with. And that's sort of an overview of the integration.
Great. So, David, if you're ready, I'll pass the presenter rights over to you, and you can show us the demo.
Yep, let me make sure I'm ready. I am ready. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see a beautiful colored screen in front of you, and this is the Sugar dashboard. And for those of you who use Sugar, great. So for those of you who use Sugar every day, this is, the same sort of thing you're probably looking at or something like it. If you haven't seen Sugar before, welcome. And so as I said, this is a dashboard. Each user in Sugar gets to have their own dashboard. And so you can make, one user's dashboard have sales information and opportunities. You can have another user looking at marketing data. You could have another user looking at support cases and things. It's really up to you how you configure Sugar. In this case, we're looking at a dashboard, and the main thing I want to show you, this isn't necessarily a typical dashboard. This has a bunch of QuickBooks data on it. And so what I can see when I just logged in is I can see the top customers in our company, and I can see Utility Shed in red here has $234,000 in sales this year, and they're my big whale. You know, Mark Bauman is second, Cafe Q is third, and so on. Now, if I'm an executive of the company, I might see all of the customers here. If I'm a sales rep, I might only see my customers here. Just depends on how you have it configured. Another dashlet, and we call these, dashlets, is we call it top open balances. And this is just showing me if I were in charge of collections or things like that, I might want to list all my customers with open balances. I might actually add a column for credit limit and if they're on credit hold as well. And we'll circle back to that. But this is a dashlet that might be good for my, accounts receivable clerk or my controller. And again, this is data that comes in from QuickBooks. So if you had Sugar and you were not integrated with QuickBooks, this data would probably not be available to you. This just comes totally from the integration. And one of the nice things about our integration is, in addition to the cool stuff that it does, all the data comes into Sugar in standard Sugar ways, which means you can use it on dashlets, you can use it in custom reports, and you can use it in any way that anything else can be used in Sugar. So this is the home screen. I thought I'd start by just showing you the quick configuration screen. So when you first install our QuickBooks integration, it takes you to a configuration screen. And there's just a few things that need to get entered. So there's a product key that we give you. We have, it tells you when your expiration date is. Here's the URL where you point to where your Sugar is. So as I said before, your Sugar can be on demand at Sugar. It could be on your own server inside your four walls. It can be at Amazon. It can be wherever you want it to be. And then down here is just some syncing data. So now if I go to this configuration tab, it has some key things for us to look at. So the first thing it asks is what's going to be the master data source? Is it QuickBooks or is it Sugar? And this just means if you've got a customer in both places and there's different addresses, which one is right? How should the integration know? And this tells it, okay, QuickBooks is always right. Syncing items, this is if you're syncing your inventory in QuickBooks to the product catalog in Sugar. And we're syncing items by their name. This is just if we're compatible with QuickBooks Canada, which has some special things. If there's any Canadians on the phone, you know what I mean. And then here's a list of all the possible synchronizations that could happen and whether they're active or not. So, and you'll notice there's a little arrow in between, and the arrow suggests which direction it goes. So you'll notice accounts and customers, the arrow is going both ways. That means it's a bi-directional synchronization. The second one shows accounts in Sugar and vendors in QuickBooks. This is just one way. And so QuickBooks vendors can come into Sugar accounts, and they'll get a account type of vendor. You can sync sales reps. You can sync assigned sales reps. So whoever the sales rep is assigned to the customer in QuickBooks would automatically get assigned in Sugar or vice versa. We're going to send Sugar quotes into QuickBooks. And then we've got a bunch of sales history going back from QuickBooks into Sugar. We've got product catalog and inventory items. You can sync price levels from QuickBooks into Sugar. And you can sync multiple warehouses in QuickBooks into Sugar and the quantities on hand in the multiple warehouses. Now, this is only available if you're using QuickBooks Enterprise because that functionality is only in QuickBooks Enterprise. But again, this data would come over. So that's really it for the primary configuration of the product. There's some advanced configuration stuff, and we don't need to go through all this other than to say there's lots of sophistication in here if it's needed. If it's not needed, you don't ever have to go to this tab, but some people need some more sophisticated features, and we've got some stuff in there built in. So that's our configuration. It's very straightforward, and we usually work with our clients to configure it to make sure we get it right. And that's how that's done. So if you're on the home screen, you'll notice these are each links, so we can click on a home screen and take us straight to that account. So if I were to click on Cafe Q, it'll take me to my Cafe Q account record. And this account record has a lot of data on it. You notice we're looking here, it's called the business card view. And this has the address and some phone numbers and the website, the date it was created, the date it was modified, some notes and things like that. There's also a little tab here that says QB data. This is QuickBooks data. If I click on that, it gives me some information. It tells me Cafe Q's year-to-date sales are $54,000. They have a balance of $3,000. Their credit limit is $75,000. If they were on credit hold, this would be checked. And so this is just some of the data coming in from QuickBooks. As we'll see at the end of the demo, I'm going to show you a mapping screen that shows you how to bring in specific pieces of information from QuickBooks into Sugar. And you can have, obviously, a lot more data here. In addition, you don't have to have it on a QB data tab. It could all be here on the main screen as well. We just put it here for simplicity's sake to show you it, in its own environment. But if you want to pile it in here, put all the data in here, and change the order of all these fields, you can absolutely do that. Some of the other data that comes in here from QuickBooks. So as I'm scrolling down, these are all called subpanels in Sugar. And the subpanels are definable by you for the most part. And here's some of the ones that come in. So these are sales transactions that came in from QuickBooks. And so you'll see we've got invoice 1101, the sale date, the due date, if there was a PO number, the total amount of the sale, and if that invoice is paid is checked. If I wanted to know more about an invoice, right, I could click on the invoice and it's going to tell me more about the invoice. So this is invoice number 1101. It's showing me the billing address, the shipping address, the due date, the transaction number in QuickBooks, a subtotal, a sales tax amount, the total amount, and then the line items. And it says, okay, so I've got blueprints, foundation, floor plan, and if I scroll over, I can see, okay, there were one of these, 12 of these, 6 of these, the individual rate, and the total amount. And if there's sales tax, so these are non-taxable, these are taxable. There's also all this other data, and to some people this is irrelevant, and you can get rid of these columns. To people who it's important to, you would leave them. So there's a serial number, a lot number, a service date. Again, this is definable by you, what fields you're going to see here. We just try to throw them all on here, and that's why we're scrolling. We have to scroll over, but you didn't have to scroll over. You could just see the item, the quantity, and the total if you want. All right? And so that's just if you drill down on an invoice. It's pretty cool. So now I'm back to my account screen, and I just drilled down on invoice number 1101. A few other things that come in here from QuickBooks to show you. So there's product sales history. And it shows me, okay, this particular customer has bought 11 blueprints and 1 custom cabinet this year, $17,500 worth of blueprints, $3,750 worth of cabinets. And this is really cool. This is great if you're a sales rep about to go into a meeting with a customer. You can pull up that account. And by the way, you can pull this up on an iPad or an iPhone as well. On an iPhone, obviously the screen will be a little small. iPad, the screen will look, great. But you'll be able to pull up product sales history and see exactly what this customer's been buying. Really great information. The next bit of information that's going to come in from QuickBooks are the different ship-to addresses. And so you can see, Cafe Q has all these different shipping addresses in these different, cities and states and so on. And then the last thing, I'm just going to show you a few other things. Most of the rest of this is standard Sugar subpanels. This is a list of all the quotes or sales orders that have gone in for this particular customer, and what opportunities are happening for this customer, what cases, this is customer service type things, and there's all sorts of more cool stuff down here, but that's standard Sugar. So as I said, the main stuff that we're bringing in here, at least for purposes of the demo, there's some advanced things that we're not bringing in, but for the purposes of the demo, we've got our sales transactions, product sales history, and shipping addresses. Now, the next thing that happens when that I want to show you is when you enter a quote and see how that works. And so this is a quote that we had entered in earlier. Let's see. We had entered this in, on February 1st last year. We entered this quote in. Now, if I opened it up, I just want to show you some stuff. So The first thing that's important in this is this quote stage. And so quote stage is negotiation. Negotiation means it's not going to go over to QuickBooks yet. Now, these stages are definable by you, by the user, but these stages are really important because that's what tells the integration whether to send a quote into QuickBooks. So we've got different stages: draft, negotiation, delivered, on hold, etc. These four right here are pretty important. If you change the stage to QB estimate, but it syncs with QuickBooks, it'll send it to QuickBooks as an estimate. If you make the stage QB invoice, it'll send it into QuickBooks as an invoice. If you make the stage QB sales order, it'll send it in as a sales order. And if you make a QB purchase order, it'll go in as a purchase order. So very important. Right now, this has been negotiation all this time, which means it never went into QuickBooks. A few other things that are cool about this: when you enter an item number, it pops up a little QB in green or red. And what that means is if it pops up in green, it means it's a valid item in QuickBooks. If it pops up in red, it means it's not a valid item in QuickBooks. And if you want it to go to QuickBooks, you may have to do something about that and fix that. So really important feedback that you get when you type an item number in. And so again, you would enter in the order. I can add a new row in if I wanted to. Yeah, let's type in, add some blueprints. Okay, you notice it came up red. That means this is not a good item for QuickBooks. We'll continue. That's okay. Okay, and I added that item in, and I'm going to click Save. Okay, and it added that. And now I didn't change my quote stage. If I changed it to close accepted, it would send this into QuickBooks. And as I said, it would send it without the two items that don't belong in QuickBooks. Now you have a couple options with that. You can have it send the order in without those two items, or you could have it reject the order altogether if there's an invalid item. So that's a setup item for you guys. And that's really how the quotes and sales order process works. You would enter this into Sugar. It would sync, and I'm not going to sync it now because the syncing is on a scheduler, but once you sync it, it ends up in QuickBooks, and you can pull it up, and there it is if you'd entered it in QuickBooks yourself. The next thing to look at that I want to show you is the product catalog. This is a list of all the inventory items that came in from QuickBooks. And you can see the product name, the type of inventory it is. Is it an item? Is it an assembly item? Is it a service item? And so on. Is there a quantity in stock, the cost, list price, unit price? And you see over here on the right all the other fields that are available in Sugar as of right now. And all of these can be synced from QuickBooks as well. So there's a date available, there's a manufacturer name, there's a weight, there's a vendor part number, things like that. That can all come from QuickBooks if you wanted to. And again, this is a great feature if you want your sales reps to have access to quantities on hand. This gives them that information for when they go into meetings with customers. Naturally, you don't have to give this information available to your users of Sugar. We have a number of clients that are using the integration that say, I don't want them to know what the quantity in stock is, so you could either not give them access to the product catalog, or you could just remove the field from the sync. It's a very simple process. Okay? And then the last thing I was going to show you was just the mapping tool. And so on the administration screen in Sugar, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's two things that get installed when you install the Sugar QuickBooks integration. One is QuickBooks integration configuration, and we already looked at that screen. And the other one is QuickBooks and Sugar field mapping. And if I click on that, it's a pretty straightforward screen. You'll see you can map customers, vendors, invoices, inventory, and so on. And you'll see, if I scroll down on this, it's got all these fields that say, you know, it's going from here to there. So for example, you'll see these aging fields aren't syncing into Sugar now because we have none. But if we wanted to have this aging over 30, I could actually go find the field aging over 30, and that'll now sync. If I wanted to find, let me get rid of this, aging over 30, right? And aging over. So now I just deleted aging over 30. Let's say I didn't mean to delete that and I wanted to add it back. So I'm going to go find aging over 30 here in QuickBooks, and I'm going to find aging. Oops, let's do it this way. I didn't want to do that. I don't have that field for that. Let's do aging over 0. So I just deleted aging over 0, and I go, wow, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm going to find aging over 0 in QuickBooks, and I'm going to find aging over 0 in Sugar. I'm going to click Add. And now the next time the customers sync, the aging over 0 field in QuickBooks will go to the aging over 0 field in Sugar. And this includes custom fields that you may have added in QuickBooks and custom fields you may have added in Sugar. And you can see, you know, any of these fields in Sugar that have an _C at the end means it was a custom field. So it also tells you the field type, so you can see, you know, these are integers, and, you know, Boolean means yes or no, checkbox, and things like that. So we tried to make it really straightforward and really simple. Again, if you go to inventory items, you can see, you know, the syncing quantity on hand is going to quantity in stock, and so on. Very straightforward mapping, and, you know, you don't have to be a programmer to do it. You have to be aware of what the fields are, but you don't have to be a programmer to do it. And I think, you know, for purposes of the webinar today, those were the key things that we wanted to show you guys. Jesse, if there's questions or, you know, any other things that we want to cover, why don't you take over?
Yeah, there's a couple questions actually that came in. Can you take two QuickBooks or merge two QuickBooks company files with one Sugar instance?
Yes, you can. The enterprise version of our integration will do that. There's one caveat is when you're doing that, the synchronization is only one way. It's from QuickBooks into Sugar. So customer information will go from QuickBooks into Sugar, and sales history and product catalog and all that stuff will go into Sugar, but you can't send sales orders from Sugar into QuickBooks because there's no easy way for Sugar to know which company to send it into. So yes, our enterprise version will accommodate that.
Okay. And then the other question was, and I believe you covered it, but it might be worth saying again, if you can you sync tracking information like FedEx or UPS tracking numbers to Sugar?
Yeah, you can. If that's contained in the QuickBooks database somewhere, it can be mapped into fields in Sugar. You'd have to add those fields into Sugar into the invoices, but you can do that. You know, most of the QuickBooks users we've seen end up with the tracking information in the line items of invoices. And so most of the time when the invoices get synced back into Sugar, that's where we see them. But there may be some other ways to do that as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that just about covers our questions. Before we wrap up, I'm going to run a quick poll for the audience. If you could just take 1 minute to answer the poll that pops up on your screen, and let that run for a minute, and then we will wrap up. All right, we'll just let that run for a couple more seconds. And David, thank you so much for taking us through the webinar today, and Christine as well. Thanks for your participation. And everybody, you know, we recorded today's webinar, so we'll send out the slides and the recording to you if you feel like you want to share that with your team. So with that, thanks again, and everybody have a great day. David, Christina, thank you.